Minister Jason Kenney, Infrastructure Minister Prasad Panda, and Seniors and Housing Minister Josephine Pon. Also joining us for this event are Dr. Sid Viner, Vice President and Medical Director for the Clinical Operations of AHS, and Shawna Syverson, Board Chair of Carewest, plus Karim Kassam, Vice Chair and Treasurer of the Alberta Continuing Care Association. That's the group of organizations, both nonprofit and businesses, who help to operate the nursing homes all across Alberta. Now, Budget 2022 makes historic investments in our health care system. Not only is Alberta's government spending at a record amount on health care, we're also investing in the infrastructure to build more capacity. And one thing we learned through COVID is we need that additional capacity. That's the central priority of Budget 2022. Albertans need a healthcare system that provides care when and where it's needed, anywhere in this big province. And that's why we're making a commitment today to expand continuing care capacity across Alberta and to increase services for seniors. It includes nearly $3.7 billion in operating funds across the continuing care system, and that is a 6.3% increase over last year. Albertans can take a comfort knowing that their loved ones will receive high-quality care in their homes or their communities and in continuing care homes, no matter where they live. We also are thinking about the future, because by 2040, there will be more than 1.1 million seniors aged 65 plus in Alberta. So to meet the needs of our aging population, Alberta's government is investing $204 million in capital funding over the next 3 years to modernize and increase continuing care capacity across Alberta. Minister Kenney will provide more details about the new capital funding and operational funding, how it will be used. But I'd like to highlight Alberta's commitment to expand healthcare capacity with two major capital projects that are under construction right now in Alberta's major urban centres. As part of Alberta's recovery plan, we've allocated $91 million over 3 years to finish construction of the Bridgeland Riverside Continuing Care Centre, which is great news for Calgary. There's also an additional $142 million over 2 years for Edmonton to complete the Jean Zwazdesky Centre. We're committed to support innovative, quality infrastructure projects like these that will increase continuing care capacity, ensuring our seniors get the care and service they need. And let me pause to say that the increasing capacity on the continuing care side, be it home care or nursing homes, community care, is really important, because one of the long-term problems that we've experienced in Alberta's healthcare system is a lot of seniors who are in acute care beds in our hospitals who could be getting a better and more appropriate care in different settings like home care and nursing homes. And every day, every night that they're in an acute care bed in a hospital costs us as taxpayers a lot more to care for them in an acute care hospital setting, but it also limits the number of available beds, and that's one of the challenges that we and other provinces faced throughout COVID when we reached some of those peaks that were challenging hospital capacity, is that we were running into a situation where there were, typically in Alberta, about 18% of our acute care beds have been occupied by seniors who could be better cared for in home care, nursing care, and other services. So expanding this capacity, as we are doing here today, is a key part of our strategy to increase overall capacity so we don't face the kind of difficult choices that we did. And I'm so excited that today's announcement will result in an increase of 1,515 new continuing care spaces over the next fiscal year. I just also want to add that in addition to this overall increase, there is an increase of $122 million, or 7.6% increase for community care, as well as a $750 million increase for home care, and that represents an $81 million, or 12% increase, again, in this year's budget. So these are big and important investments, a big part of our strategy to increase capacity, a key learning from the COVID era, so that we can, frankly, provide better care for seniors in their communities, but also open up more capacity in our hospitals and help them to run more efficiently too. It's a win-win. So since we're in Calgary today, I want to highlight how this Bridgeland Riverside Continuing Care Centre will strengthen the delivery of continuing care and other healthcare services more broadly in this city. The Bridgeland Riverside Continuing Care Centre will be a hub for many seniors that live in surrounding neighbourhoods and other parts of the city who need access to health services nearby. Not only will the centre accommodate about 200 residents, it will provide a range of care and services to seniors and others with complex needs like people with dementia or those suffering from brain injury. This will also relieve pressure on Calgary hospitals, as I say, by reducing the number of people waiting in acute care for a continuing care space. It will help meet the healthcare needs of Calgarians for years and years to come. And more importantly, it will support health services delivery as Calgary and Alberta prepare for an aging population in the years ahead. I've said this many times before, and I'll say it again, that Alberta seniors built this province, and we're standing by them every step of the way. The public health orders for continuing care remain in place to protect the health and well-being of seniors, and we're moving forward for Albertans on our path to recovery. And with that, I will invite the Minister of Health, Jason Kenney, to add some more details.
Thank you, Premier, and good morning, everyone. I want to thank you all for joining us today, and I want to thank AHS for allowing us to make the presentation here in their facility. As the Premier mentioned, Budget 2022 is a milestone for our health system, and today we're here to talk a bit more about what it means for continuing care. Let me say right up front, it means more spaces, better access, and shorter wait times for continuing care here in Calgary and across the entire province. And that's not just sometime in the future. It's right now and right through this coming year. As the Premier noted, Budget 2022 includes nearly $3.7 billion in operating funds for the continuing care system, a 6.3% increase over last year. And the funding breakdowns as follows: $1.2 billion for long-term care, $1.7 billion for community care, which includes designated supported living, and $750 million for home care. The budget will support opening 1,500 new continuing care spaces across the province in 22-23, and we'll share the details on where they'll be opening in the coming months. Budget 22 also provides $204 million in capital funding over the 3 years to modernize existing continuing care facilities across the province and develop new spaces in priority communities. We'll work with community, nonprofit, and independent providers to achieve this through the Continuing Care Capital Program. Like I said earlier, we're adding spaces right now, and we'll keep adding them right through the coming year. In fact, today, AHS is announcing the opening of a facility in Hinton with 32 new supportive living beds, the Evergreens Foundation Pine Valley Lodge. We need to have the right spaces available when people need them and where they need them. And I want to emphasize, adding continuing care spaces adds capacity to our entire healthcare system. Most people move into continuing care from the hospitals, so adding spaces is critical to make sure patients can leave the hospital when they're ready. That means there's a hospital bed available sooner for the next patient who's waiting in emergency. And that means there's a space available sooner for the next patient coming in with an EMS crew, so the paramedics can get back out on the road to answer the next 911 call. It's one connected system, and we need to increase capacity across the entire system to increase access for the whole range of care people need, from EMS to surgery and other hospital care to continuing care and palliative care. Continuing care is critical, and it's a great example of how our health system has come through the pandemic. COVID-19 has taken a heavy toll on continuing care residents and home care clients and their families, and it's taken a toll on everyone who works in the system. But the operators and staff have worked incredibly hard to maintain access, and government is working hard to support them. That combined effort has kept the system working for the people who need it the most. In fact, for patients waiting in hospital for a continuing care bed, the average wait time today is now shorter than it was before the pandemic. And through December 31st, the average wait in hospital was 32 days compared to 46 days in 2018-2019. And that's because the system recovered strongly after the disruption in 2020, and placed 25% more new residents into continuing care in the first 3 quarters of this year compared to 2021. In fact, placements this year are roughly in line with the numbers in the 2 years before the pandemic. We're able to place more clients because we're succeeding in adding new spaces in spite of the strain of COVID. Our continuing care system is still there for people who need it because of the dedication of our staff and operators, and I'd like to take a moment to say thank you. And with the new resources in Budget 22, we'll build on the strength of that system. We're not just recovering from the pandemic, we're building a publicly funded health system with better access than we had before. As I said earlier, we're going to add more than 1,500 spaces in the coming year. For the longer term, the centerpieces of our capital plan for continuing care are 2 projects here in Calgary and in Edmonton. In Calgary, the new Bridgeland Riverside Continuing Care Centre is under construction. Carewest will operate it with a combination of Seniors Day program and about 200 continuing care spaces. We've earmarked $91 million over 3 years to complete this project in Budget 22. This year's budget also includes $142 million over 2 years to complete the Jean Swideski Centre in Edmonton, operated by Capital Care. That centre will add 145 new spaces and replace 205 existing ones to accommodate a total of 350 continuing care residents with complex needs. In addition, the centre will offer post-acute inpatient programs for people needing rehabilitation following surgery or illness. Our continuing care system is a balance of public, independent, and community and voluntary operators. The balance is a strength of our system, and we're maintaining it, adding resources across the system to leverage the strengths of all our operators and provide choice for residents and for families. I'm excited about Budget 22 and the new spaces we're adding. And we're also moving forward with a larger initiative to modernize continuing care and meet the demands for the next decade. In the coming year, we'll move forward with new legislation for continuing care based on the review that we released last year. We've already made some changes based on that review, including phasing out ward rooms with more than 2 residents. That's a basic improvement for infection control and safety for residents. It was overdue even before COVID-19, but it's just a small first step. The review recommended a wide range of changes looking ahead into the year 2030, including more hours of care in facilities and a strategic shift to serving more clients through long-term home care. That's the right thing to do. It's better for the client and it's better for the system. It means putting the quality of life of each client at the center of the system by supporting them and living as independently as possible, which is the goal of all continuing care services. So I'm excited about Budget 22, and I'm excited about the coming year for continuing care and for our health system overall. We're going to keep building the continuing care spaces Albertans need right now, and we're going to keep working to build the publicly funded health system we need to meet the challenges of today and for the next decade. So thank you, and I'll now turn the podium over to my colleague, Minister Panda.
Thank you, Minister Kapping. Good morning, Calgary. I would like to also acknowledge my colleague, Minister Kapping, who joined us here together with Premier and Minister Kapping. Budget 2022 is moving Alberta forward by strengthening and increasing capacity in our healthcare and continuing care systems, getting more Albertans working and bringing our finances back into the black. As part of Alberta's recovery plan, we are investing in critical infrastructure projects to address the need for more continuing care spaces. Budget 2022 provides $2.3 billion over the next 3 years to invest in health and continuing care projects throughout the province. That includes $204 million in capital funding over 3 years to build and modernize new continuing care spaces in Alberta. Great progress is being made on 2 major projects that fall into this category. The Bridgeland Riverside Continuing Care Centre project here in Calgary is, and also as the Gene Zwazdesky Center at Norwood in Edmonton, both are progressing really well. And Bridgeland Riverside is an important project that addresses an urgent need for additional community-based continuing and long-term care right here in Calgary. And when completed, this project will relieve pressure on our hospitals here in Calgary and add much-needed capacity. There are approximately 70 people on site daily at Bridgeland working hard to keep this project on schedule and on budget. Construction is moving ahead as scheduled, and we have enclosed the building and framing of the West Tower, and construction activity continues throughout the project site. And later this spring, we'll achieve a significant milestone by completing the construction on the highest part of the concrete structure. And I'm extremely pleased that construction continues to be on schedule for completion in late 2023. Last year, I announced the start of construction on this project, and unfortunately, I don't think there was a single story on TV or in the print media because of COVID. But I really want people to know this is a big project and will significantly improve healthcare in Calgary. In the past, I toured media to get updated information about Calgary Cancer Center. If anybody is interested later this spring, I can organize a tour so you can share that good story with the Calgarians and Albertans. And there is also a great construction progress in Edmonton on the Gene Zwazdesky Center at Norwood project. Approximately 450 workers are on site daily on this 430,000 square foot main building. Construction on phase 1 of this project is expected to be completed on schedule and budget later this year. And infrastructure projects like these important continuing care centers and other health and public infrastructure projects are happening throughout Alberta. That's all part of our more than $20 billion investments in Alberta's capital plan and Alberta's recovery plan, which is to grow our economy and support jobs. Each worker and every job site is Alberta recovery plan in real time. And every taxpayer dollar spent is designed to ensure that you, your family, your business, your community will benefit from an economic or social impact from these projects. And every infrastructure and construction-related project is supporting good-paying jobs for local workers. In the short term, this includes jobs in planning, design, engineering, and construction. It also includes jobs that ripple out from the construction workers to benefit Alberta manufacturers, suppliers, and trucking companies. These projects also keep our friends and neighbors working by supporting jobs and economic activity in area coffee shops, grocery stores, and gas stations. As these Alberta businesses see increased traffic from the work that is underway, long after construction is complete, these projects have an enduring impact through an ongoing community-based jobs in programming, operations, and maintenance. The 2022 capital plan supports investments in public infrastructure throughout the province, benefiting all Albertans. Infrastructure projects are building communities, boosting the economy, supporting jobs, and attracting investment into Alberta communities, making Alberta a destination for companies to relocate, bringing new jobs and opportunities, helping move Alberta forward to a prosperous future for all of us. Positioning Alberta to be a vital part in a bright and thriving future that will firmly secure our place as the economic engine of Canada. Thank you. Now I'll invite Karim Kassam from the Alberta Continuing Care Association.
Thank you, Minister Panda. Good afternoon. My name is Karim Kassam, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Alberta Continuing Care Association and co-founder of Optima Living, a provider of continuing care to Albertans across the province. On behalf of the ACCA, I would like to thank Premier Kenney and Minister Copping for the significant investments in continuing care announced in the Budget 2022. Our members include both nonprofit and independent owners and operators across the spectrum of continuing care, including home care, supportive living, and long-term care. Our members operate nearly half of the continuing care capacity in this province. This funding is critical to transforming our sector to not only meet the evolving needs of seniors and persons with disabilities in Alberta, but also to enhance the safety and quality of care of our residents. Albertans have clearly indicated a desire to age in grace with dignity in their own homes as long as possible, close to their loved ones and friends. Enhancing services in the community enables this, and it is a long-term approach with an equitable and seamless transition to continuing care home when required. This is a smart and sensible approach that will benefit Alberta seniors in communities across the province, and one that the ACCA supports the government in this planned transformation. The ACCA is thankful for the open dialogue we have with the Alberta Health and Alberta Health Services. We look forward to continuing to do this work with Minister Copping and his staff to create the best possible sustainable continuing care sector. Better quality of life and care for Albertans and better value to taxpayers can simultaneously be provided by working together, and this announcement is a welcome step towards that goal. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Premier, Minister Copping, and Minister Panda. I'm Dr. Sid Viner, Vice President and Medical Director of Operations for Alberta Health Services. I'm pleased to be here today to speak about the impact this will have on aging Albertans. Over the last 10 years, Alberta's population of seniors grew by more than 55%. This increase is the highest among Canadians' provinces. As Alberta's population continues to grow and age, it is essential that we proactively plan for increasing care needs in the community for individuals who need supportive care environments because of disabilities, chronic conditions, or hospice end-of-life care. Part of community care capacity planning is understanding and accounting for the modernization, replacement, and refurbishment requirements of current continuing care facilities. Modernization considerations include facility age, shared accommodations, occupancy classification, HVAC, and life safety needs. The recent COVID pandemic reinforced the importance and necessity of continuing care infrastructure modernization across the province. We've been working collaboratively with our continuing care operator community to identify these needs and opportunities. The capital grant funding opportunities outlined today will assist us in addressing priority continuing care infrastructure replacements and refurbishments. This investment will help us ensure that clients and families will receive the best possible care in comfortable, modern facilities, creating updated homes for Albertans who require supportive care environments in the communities that need it the most. We are also grateful for the commitment to fund the completion of the Bridgeland Riverside Continuing Care Centre in Calgary and the Jean Zwodeski Centre in Edmonton. These facilities will provide much-needed spaces within these communities to see that aging Albertans have access to care. Providing additional funding for programming within home care, supportive living, and long-term care is also welcomed. The pandemic has highlighted the importance of keeping residents connected to their families and their communities. Additional funding will enable more Albertans to receive care closer to home by remaining in their communities as they age and their healthcare needs change. Staying connected to loved ones, friends, and family supports the well-being of our seniors and improves their quality of life. We look forward to working with contracted providers, our residents and families and Albertans as we continue to look at capacity needs for our aging population. The care that we and our contracted providers give to Albertans is at the core of everything we do. Thank you. I'll now call upon Shawna Syverson, Chair of the Carewest Board.
Hello. As the Carewest Board, I am pleased to be here to share in this announcement today. The past 2 years have been immensely challenging for the continuing care operators as they've worked really hard to keep their residents, clients, and staff safe. Multiple outbreaks have taught us that we definitely need this increased investment in this healthcare sector. Today's announcement is extremely exciting for Carewest and the entire continuing care sector. The fully funded initiative of the Bridgeland Continuing Care Centre is really, really exciting as it's part of our Carewest family. This project will help meet urgent demand and needs for the many, many people that need us the most. In addition to the 200 residential continuing care spaces, there will also be a multitude of outpatient services. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the staff at Carewest who have pulled together so greatly over the last 2 years. I'd also like to express my sincere gratitude to the residents, clients, and families that have trusted us, specifically in the last 2 years. Carewest could not be more excited to be part of this, and we really look forward to working with Alberta Health, Alberta Health Services, and all of our community partners as we move forward for this for Calgarians now and in the future. Thank you.
All right, with that, we're going to move to the media Q&A. We're going to start on the floor here. If any journalists are here in person and have questions, please identify your name, your outlet, and who you'd like to ask your questions to. For questions today, we have Premier, Minister of Health, Jason Kenney, and Minister of Seniors and Housing, Josephine Pon. Go ahead.
My question is for the Premier. It's Tim Brooke with CTV Calgary. Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, gas prices obviously mega high right across the country. Alberta, specifically the economy here, really benefits from those high energy prices. So the question is, any plans to kind of relieve Albertan families of some of these prices, maybe considering a natural gas or a rebate similar to what we're planning with natural gas?
Well, our focus right now has been a natural gas rebate program should natural gas prices go to very high levels, as we've done in the past as a province. So the program we've designed is basically a version of something the Klein government did in 2003 that would provide a rebate for natural gas costs to home consumers at, I think, $6.25 a gigajoule. We are very concerned. We know that these gas prices are hitting everybody all around the world, not just here. And the urgent thing is for the Government of Canada to stop making this situation even worse, because they plan on April 1st at increasing taxes on gasoline through an increase in the carbon tax. This is ridiculous. And if, you know, there's a very simple thing that could happen overnight to reduce gas prices, electricity prices, and natural gas prices for home heating, and that's to scrap the carbon tax. That's what we tried to do here in Alberta. We sued Justin Trudeau over his carbon tax, unfortunately lost in the Supreme Court 5-3. But that is the single, you know, if Alberta were to provide, you know, cut the provincial gas tax, Trudeau's just going to take that up with his carbon tax increase on April the 1st. It'll be April Fool's Day for Albertans if Justin Trudeau insists on forcing up gas prices when they're at near historic highs. So we'll be bringing a motion to the Alberta legislature calling on the Trudeau government to abandon, at the very least, its planned gas tax hike on April the 1st, and once again to roll back the entire carbon tax, which is making a bad situation worse on the cost of living.
And Tim, do you have a follow-up?
So nothing planned on the provincial level at all. Obviously, Alberta, you know, benefits so much more than other provinces. So carbon tax is one thing, but as far as your government is concerned, no policy announcements coming or expected. Again,
if we were to say cut the provincial excise tax on gasoline, Justin Trudeau will scoop up that revenue with his tax hike on April the 1st. So I'll tell you what, if Justin Trudeau were to agree not to raise the gas tax, federal gas tax, on April the 1st, then we would look for sure at further relief here in Alberta. But a provincial cut, when he intends to increase it, leaves consumers no further ahead. We need the federal government to stop raising gas prices.
Thanks, Tim. Do we have any more questions from the floor? Thank you. With that, we'll move to the phone lines. Operator, can you please put through our first caller?
David Staples, Edmonton Journal.
Hi, Premier. Thanks for taking my call. In the House of Commons this week in Ottawa, Quebec Law Leader Yves-François Blanchet put forward a motion that was eventually adopted by the House of Commons, where it was Quebec can't lose one more seat in one more electoral district, and we can't. They decided not to reduce Quebec's political weight in the House of Commons. What do you think of Blanchet's motion in terms of perhaps favoring Quebec and disadvantaging other provinces?
Canada's a democracy. That means representation by population. It doesn't mean gerrymandering and rigging the system forever to benefit one province over another. If Quebec wanted more seats in the House of Commons, then it should have pursued pro-growth policies that would have attracted more newcomers. That's exactly what Alberta's done. Our population has doubled over the past 30 years because of our pro-business Alberta advantage. That's how you end up with a bigger voice. More people coming to pro-growth policies that deserve a full and fair share for their voices in Parliament. So this is yet another effort by Quebec politicians to stack the deck for their province.
Sorry, I think we have a technical problem here. David, can you hear me?
Thanks.
David, can you hear me?
I can't hear the person on the other end. I do have
try this. David, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'll just finish that answer. Sorry, at least on the floor here we had a technical problem. I'll just say this is just another effort by a Quebec politician to rig the rules for a province that has seen population decline and stagnation because of anti-growth policies. So that's not the fault of Albertans. We've adopted pro-growth policies that have attracted a lot of people here, and those people deserve to have their voices reflected in the House of Commons, including, by the way, the tens of thousands of Quebecers who have become Albertans. They moved here to pursue opportunity. They deserve to have an equal share for their voice in Parliament, and that's something we'll fight for.
David, do you have a follow-up?
Yes, my follow-up question is, in terms of a rational, non-partisan fair way to redistribute seats when it's necessary in ridings, both provincially and federally.
Hold on, David.
What would be the process that makes the most sense, as you said?
David, just hold on a second. We couldn't hear you. We're trying to resolve. We've done a lot of these remote news conferences and never had a technical problem before, so please bear with us for just a moment, you and everyone else on the line. We'll do our best here.